Go right ahead.
Not a problem. Again, thank you, panelists. And our panelists were given a series of questions to look over. And so I'm going to go through a series of questions. We may do some follow-up. And since we've opened this up to others here, if you have any questions or comments or feedback that you would like to provide, it's always welcome. Our first question that was provided was, entitlement grants are federal funding allocations provided to K-12 schools and districts designed to supplement existing funding streams, leading to improved academic achievement, particularly among our disadvantaged student populations. When utilized effectively, they can level the educational playing field, enabling disadvantaged students the opportunity to receive a fair and equitable and high quality education. So my first question, and I'll put it out there and anyone who wants to answer, what entitlement grants, for an example, title funding, CARES Act, ESSER, Perkins Funding, are you responsible for supervising in your school or district? And I'll open that up.
Okay, so I'll start. I'm responsible in my district for overseeing Title IV funding. And if everyone is not familiar with Title IV, that focuses on well-rounded education, safe and healthy schools, and use of technology to improve academic achievement. I do work a little bit with some funding purchases under CARES and some of the other grants, but Title IV is my budget.
And I can piggyback off of Paulette. I'm responsible for Title IIA, Perkins, and some parts of the CARES Act for this year. Grants seem to be one of my largest responsibilities in the district, in addition to being supervisor of staff development. So this conversation is really good to talk about what some of the things are, some of the other opportunities that people use the grant funding for, so we can get ideas.
Mhm.
And in my district, I am responsible for spending some of the federal grants that are coming in, particularly ESSER II, and then part of the CARES Act in Massachusetts, the state reallocated as the remote learning tech essentials grant. So I've been responsible for managing that, and then also, like I said, spending that stream of ESSER II towards instructional technology.
Great, thank you very much. So Steve, I'm going to start with you this time, and you explain how your district is using, your districts in your case, are using entitlement grants to offset state and local funding streams for education, or how are you ensuring that you're not supplanting, but you're supplementing funding for existing programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting, as in Massachusetts, as we start our budget, particularly early in our school year. So our budgets are due to my budget manager in November, actually. So we're doing a lot of forward looking before we're necessarily sure what the funding stream from the state looks like. So we kept our ESSER funding very close, not being sure what the state funding would look like and what the local appropriation would look like. So we really held on tight to that, not knowing if we need to extend it as part of the local budget. So now that we know a little more concretely, though not finalized or formalized, we have a better sense of what funding will come from the state and what will come from the local budget. We were able to take some of the ESSER funding and request a transfer from some other buckets into instructional technology, which has really been a lifeline. We've worked really hard over the past several years to embed technology and technology replacement cycle into our regular budget as a regular budget line item. But as everyone probably knows, it does get chipped away at very quickly and very early on in the budget process. So this year, our tech hardware and our instructional software took some pretty big hits at first. And with the addition of some local grants, our local cable access donated several thousand, tens of thousands of dollars, as well as our local PTOs and education foundations, as well as the ESSER grants, really helped us keep the momentum of our tech hardware and instructional software lines, which has just been absolutely fabulous because we don't want to lose that momentum. We've worked so hard to keep our hardware lines on a regular replacement cycle. So we've been very lucky that the community has come to the help, as well as the federal government with ESSER funding.
Great. I'm gonna turn this over to Paulette, Dawn. I know you're both from East Orange, so do you guys, anyone have anything that you want to add to what Steve just shared?
So I think one of the ways I approach the grant spending in East Orange is I kind of look at the gaps and what is needed to use the funding. So when we went into this whole pandemic and remote, we've been remote since March of 2020, and our students just came back on last Monday. So we saw that the biggest gap was our teachers being trained to use the technology. So Paulette can talk more about the technology and what those purchases look like. But for me, it was bringing in consistent people to begin to train our teachers how to use certain programs, like how to use Flipgrid and how to for student engagement and Nearpod, and how to even just use Google Classroom and Google Forms and Docs. So the training gap was so large because we had some teachers who were, they were proficient in technology, but then we had some teachers who came in during my generation where we didn't use technology. And so some of them were afraid to use it. So the funding, particularly Title II-A during this time, was dedicated directly for, teaching, showing teachers how to use the hardware, the hybrid learning models, now that we're back in the buildings, how to teach to students in the room and students who are at home watching. That was a big deal that we're still, using funds to help us do that. So it has the look of the entitlement grants, I think, in our district will not be the same. I think before, sometimes we'll have a chunk of money at the end of the year. I don't think we'll have any chunks of money this year to carry over.
Yeah, Dawn, I missed those calls at the last minute. You have $30,000 to spend by tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have those, but I also wanted to address supplementing and supplanting, because that can be a big issue. I know in our dishes, we have a lot of hands in the funding accounts. Dr. Tyler's and has her hands in some, and I have mine. And then we also have the operations division and the rest of the curriculum department. So what we try to do in East Orange is we try to start discussing things early on how to spend it. And there are lots of meetings. We were talking earlier about Zoom fatigue, but some of these meetings are important because we have to be careful not to supplant. And if we're not communicating and talking, it's easy to supplant in somebody else's area. We host stakeholders meetings throughout the year to bring people in. I work in the curriculum. I'm technology, but I work in the curriculum department, but I also have to make sure that I'm mindful and that I keep in touch with the IT department. So we have these meetings to share how we're going to spend it. We're already having meetings about what we're going to do for next year. And that's just, I'm really afraid of supplanting. So that's like really important to me.
Great. I share several of your sentiments here. I was at a district myself with 90% state aid ratio. So we did get a lot of funding, and it was really challenging to be able to say the district budget covers this. Right. And we can kind of supplement with these programs. So I know the challenges that all of you share in looking at the funding that's coming in. And we know that we're going to get additional funding this year, relief funding to support, learning loss and to provide technology, which is going to be on top of a lot of the other funding, which is great. But at the same time, I know it's going to be that challenge for all of you out there to make sure that you're not supplanting something that's already existing in terms of helping your students reacclimate back to the learning environment, social emotional learning, learning loss recovery, and even accelerated learning programs. So with that said, I know you are all aware that the CARES Act funding is designed to supplement and be flexible and can be combined with other state and local funds and strategies, including ESSER plans to promote an integrated learning approach. Can you explain how you have utilized your CARES Act funding or with other fundings to coordinate school and district efforts to adopt a comprehensive approach to improve learning across multiple funding streams? Loaded question.
So it's a loaded question, but it is one that is so in front of me right now. So I've just been given the task to lead the team in spending the CARES money for learning loss for the summer. And so right now we're not even in the middle, but in the beginnings of doing a 7-site full day K-8 summer programming, all focused on math and reading intervention. And so it is a big price tag, but it's something that we have to do. We have looked at our student scores and we've already seen the drop from, the previous year where our students were this time in 2019, you gotta say, till now. And it has made us do this big, we've never done this amount of summer programming in our district before. And so, thankfully we have the CARES Act fund where we can begin to get a jump start in trying to close some of those gaps in learning loss, but also getting our students used to coming to school again, because our students have been at home since March of 2020. So that's where we are right now, and being flexible in the spending. I think that's the name of the game right now, because without flexibility, I don't know, things are changing. It's so uncertain right now that, as things change, our plans are going to have to change. I don't know if you want to add anything, Paulette.
No, I was going to say, I'm just so grateful for Dawn taking a lead on that. And she and I, and you can hear from her conversation, she is very involved in what we're doing with Ed Tech. So she and I have had several meetings because we're talking about the first time having full day summer school. And we talk about learning loss as always, ELA and math at the front and center, but we also want to make sure that our students have, especially by the time they get into the afternoon, programs that address technology and learning loss, but also the social emotional piece of it, mindfulness piece of it. So I thank her right now for all the work that she's about to do, because it's going to be a lot of work. I'm here for you, but and we would love to get ideas if anybody has full day or has had full day summer programs. And again, we've never had 7 sites. So this is going to be a massive undertaking, and, reach out to us if you have some ideas or suggestions.
Absolutely. And we do have Dr. Smith's hand is raised. So feel free, Dr. Smith, to unmute yourself if you had a question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, my question relates to your summer programming. And I have done summer programming here in Hamilton for a number of years. And one of the things that I am apprehensive about is putting together a program and then not having the students come back. So how do you address attendance? You can put together a wonderful program. I mean, we're working with 4-H Rutgers Cooperative Extension. I have a contact out in Philly who's going to look into doing some enrichment / STEM programming to make it engaging. But as you know, great teachers slip in that academics and the fun stuff. So how are you addressing attendance and getting it? You have to do like marketing to your family.
Right.
So
Marketing, surveys,
marketing experts in the field of
Absolutely.
education.
Yeah, so tomorrow is, great that you asked that question. So tomorrow night we have a meeting of like an orientation for parents to try to sell this program to them. So we made it all look attractive. We got the colors. We're gonna have posters all around the city to, say, hey, we have this program. But tomorrow night we will give parents the opportunity. Each school has a theme. So it's more than just go to your school and learn all day. We have them broken into themes, and for the first time, parents can choose which school they want to go to. So we have a STEM theme, we have performing arts, we have just a pure science theme. We have male and female mentoring for the middle school students. I know I'm missing some stuff. We have buildings just for kindergarten. So we have 2 buildings that will just be kindergarten students doing STEAM Park, which is a Lego, curriculum. So we've made it thematic, and we're gonna sell it as, yeah, we're gonna do some remediation, maybe 3 hours, but the other stuff is gonna be fun. And so hopefully, because we have them, we're gonna keep them till 3 o'clock. The parents will be more inclined to send them because that's full day. We're not taking any days off. Right now we're not offering hybrid, but if we need to be, that's about being flexible again. We will give all those teachers webcams and allow the students to participate from home. We'll send the materials home with them. So we're looking to be flexible and doing all of that. So we're going to get the numbers. We're determined to get the numbers one way or the other, whether you come out or we come to your house virtually.
Are your buildings air conditioned? That's an issue that we have here.
We're only using the buildings that have air conditioning.
Right, about to say, we hand selected the 7 buildings that do. No, because we do understand that. And also it was important for us, and Dawn can talk about this a little bit because she has maybe a little bit more of the results, but we sent out a survey because we needed to make sure before we even said we were going to do this 7-site summer school, we need to make sure we had enough staff. We need to make sure we had the right staff. So Dawn sent out a survey just to see which teachers were going to be interested in it. And I mean, the turnout was amazing. Like, we're going to have to turn teachers away. Dawn, do you know the numbers on that?
Yeah, we have almost 200 teachers who signed up to work.
Yeah, similarly
Impressive.
in our district, we had an overwhelming response for summer school, and we always have a special education invitation only special education summer school in our 1 air-conditioned building, and we are using ESSER funds to expand that to be in K and 1, pre-K, K and 1 general education invitation, and there was an overwhelming response. We weren't sure if we would get enough people who would want to teach, and we had an overwhelming response, which was great. But we've been looking at a lot of data. We've been looking at our universal screening data and comparing winter 2020 with winter 2021 and fall 2019 with fall 2020, and how are our students growing, and are they growing at the same rate or are they growing less? Is it a cohort issue? And so we've been really looking at the data to try to dig in to see who are our most at-risk students. We're playing around with a tool called Panorama. If you've ever heard of it, it's a social emotional learning screening tool. And so we did that pre-pandemic, but haven't done it since. So that's a piece that we're really trying to pause and stop talking about just pooled testing and COVID, but really to remember, social emotional learning is at the key of all we do. And so we're going to screen our students for social emotional learning and their well-being, and use that data to think about what will the summer look like, which is partially tied up in ESSER funding, but then also what will we do to drive our programming and our instruction in the fall? What will that look like? But the lessons that we have learned, that we were forced to learn really quickly when teachers piloted free programs in spring 2020, and now we want them as part of the budget. And how do we increase the capacity of our budget to get there, and how do we increase the capacity of our budget over the summer as well, in terms of summer school, and making sure that the students have what resources they need and what people they need in order to get that intervention.
And I'm glad you mentioned data, because what we've also done with our CARES fund, we secured we're going to use a position just for a teacher to analyze the data, for him to collect on all the students who are registered, go into the database and give us the data coming in, and then monitor how these students are doing, after we leave, and chart them the rest of the year just to see if it helped at all.
These are all awesome, I mean, strategies, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. I mean, full day summer programs, that's amazing. Even Steve, you expanding your programs beyond, and we know that a lot of our special needs students have 12-month IEPs, and so we traditionally may have 12-month programs with them, but not for all students, particularly even our younger students as well. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
Well, I think that our traditional programming is that it's part of a student's IEP if there's summer programming that's involved. And when I think about the lessons that we are learning, we will have learned when we look back in 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 years, are we realizing that our youngest students, regardless of if they have a formal label or not of being on a 504 plan or an IEP or whatever the case may be, are our youngest learners, do they need that additional instruction? Do they need that additional time? Is that part of being a learner in 2021, whether it's because of a pandemic or whether it's because of society and structures of society and the family. So I think once we get through one season of what the summer looks like, I think we will see that there are some new realities. I was discussing with my superintendent the other day that we're looking at the budget, and do we need to still have Zoom in the budget? And we are putting it into the budget again, but it's possible. I could see our commissioner saying, moving forward, we will always have a remote option. Maybe that's a possibility that families could always say, I elect my child to remain remote. Who knows if that will be a possibility, but I think it might be. So I think, the book that we will all collectively write, a year from now or 2 years from now, there will be a lot of lessons learned that maybe our hand was forced and things we didn't necessarily realize we needed to be doing, but now we're realizing have become a best practice.
I honestly think that hybrid remote learning is here to stay, and it will exist in some form, because once you open the door, and there are districts, I'm pretty sure you've met with success with some of your students and staff as well. So I believe it really is here to stay. I did want to have one follow-up question to the young ladies in East Orange, and I wanted to, have you thought of the opposite and get more people and more parents and students interested? Do you have a capacity on your full day summer program? If it's an overwhelming interest in parents, if you want the children out of the house, they haven't been, full day. So do you have capacity limits? And then also, and this is for everyone here, would you be providing lunch for these students?
So initially, when we started out, the capacity was 150 at each site. But now my boss is so excited, she wants to push it to 200. So she's trying to put me in an early grade, but oh yeah, this is being recorded. But,
That was
I think, yeah, it wasn't Paulette. So, which is great. I love her enthusiasm about it. So yeah, so we're looking at 150 to 200 students each site, potentially, and that's not counting. And I forgot to mention that. That's not counting the students with disabilities who are in their extended year program. That is separate than the seven sites that we have. So yeah, that's what we're looking for to cap. And as far as the lunch, we are still partnering with our school lunch what do we call vendor, and they're going to provide the food, I think, through the city of East Orange. I think that's what usually happens.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we're going to just move on to the next question in the interest of time, and to give, again, anyone who has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Here we do have a series of questions that we shared, but we don't have to stay on this track, because these are very good responses here, strategies for helping to support our students. But I know all of you have employed innovative strategies using your title funding. And are there any innovative programs or projects you would like to share that you may have implemented using some of your entitlement, title grants, ESSER funding, whether it's in the past or looking forward into the future? The summer program being one of them, full-time, and adding more to your summer program. But anything else that you may have done interesting and creative with your title or entitlement funding?
So we've been pre-pandemic working on trying to expand teacher training around project-based learning, and we were in a real groove in terms of providing training to staff, and that all came to a screeching halt. So that's one thing that we are getting back on track using some of that entitlement funding, is expanding our training around project-based learning, but not using it just for, of course, the sake of project-based learning, but embedding reading and writing and content-based knowledge within project-based learning. And the hope, I think, is that we can, as we look to rethink what teaching and learning looks like post-pandemic, that when we're rethinking what a classroom might look like, that project-based learning will become more embedded in what is it that we're doing. We had one school in particular that was playing around with the classroom of the future pre-pandemic in terms of what furniture would look like and what curriculum might look like. And that became our COVID waiting room in that school. So it's we're hopeful that once we have moved beyond our current state of affairs in whatever way that looks, that classroom of the future will be able to focus on that, and that project-based learning can be a real cornerstone of it. And that, we think about all that we did when we were forced to be remote, and we came back hybrid and then in person starting between, I think January through March or so. But all of those lessons learned about involving the home environment and the community at large when we're trying to do, for example, science experiments. And we realized that our science curriculum isn't necessarily doing what we want it to do in a remote setting. So what did? We looked at entitlement funding to come up with additional science curriculum that would work more in a home environment and bridge that gap. And those are some of the tools that we have continued to use and continued to include in our budget moving forward, assuming we'll move beyond into post-pandemic. But thinking about how we're involving the community and the home in a way that maybe we were not doing before.
Mhm.
Great.
So Chrissy, if you could, Robert, I want to steal this idea, that classroom of the future. If Chrissy could turn off the recording so I can say I want to steal that. I love that idea. I do.
Yeah.
And I was going to share a fun project that we did.
Do you really want me to turn it off?
No, I'm joking. No, pre-COVID, what I did was I used some of this title money to enhance my technology curriculum. So right now our teachers currently use learning.com's Easy Tech curriculum for tech literacy and for coding. So what I did the year before last, COVID year, is I wanted to purchase something to bring those lessons to life. So they would go online and they would walk them through how to code online. I'm like, okay, that's not fun. So what I did was I reached out to one of my favorite partners, Tech, and we purchased some Spiros. And I was just going to bring some Spiros in, let the teachers play around with the Spiros. But I'm going to say Tech really took it to the next level, because what they did was we had them come in and train our teachers, who then turnkeyed how to program the Spiros with the students. And Tech came in and helped us host an on-site Spiro challenge. It was amazing. I'm looking for what that next big project is going to be. Steve, you talked about project-based learning, and we did that for years. And I think that it's time to go back to that. You know, sometimes we do things for so long and people think they know it and, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But right now, if anybody has any ideas, I think I'm going to look into maybe those classrooms of the future. Mhm.
I think these are, wow, you know, I like the classroom of the future as well. Great idea. And honestly, this is the purpose of this panel discussion. It's really for us to learn from each other because we're all doing things and similar things and innovative things. And sometimes we don't have an opportunity to share across districts and across states and other places that are embarking upon and facing the same challenges. And so these are all great. And this actually leads in Paulette into our next question and the last in the series of questions that we have. And that is that schools and districts are often partnered with educational service providers and others in the design and development and delivery of programs and services to support teaching and learning using entitlement grants and other funds. Can you describe how you may have worked with an educational partner to provide support to district programs using your title funding? And I know you touched on it a little bit, and I know you mentioned us, and thank you so much, but there may be others out there that you've worked with as well. And I open that up to anyone who would want to respond to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so, oh, sorry, someone
No,
else.
no, please go ahead, Don.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna second what Paulette said, is that some of our ESSER funding was just reallocated towards instructional technology now that we have a better handle of what our budget will be for FY22. And so I'll be reaching out to tech probably later this week to make some purchases of some items. We also are relying on some of our entitlement grants to actually purchase a new module in Frontline. It's called Time and Attendance, and it's for our hourly employees. And it's not one of those things that has a ton of bells and whistles, but in terms of the efficiency of our district, we're such a small district that a little bit will go a really long way. And we've been advocating it for this module in Frontline for probably 3 years now. And understandably, it just gets cut out of the budget every year. And when we looked at our entitlement funding, that was a place where it made sense to spend that money in terms of the efficiency of the organization, and making sure that we then could free up resources elsewhere. So, you know, the pie of my time that will get freed up once it's implemented, and many other people, you know, between principals and administrative assistants and the payroll department, I think will reap huge benefits. So it's a really geeky thing, but it's very exciting.
That is exciting.
Well, yeah, the time and attendance, Steve, let me just ask that, is that for staff or for students?
It's for staff. So if you're familiar with Frontline, they had the original was ASOP, and Frontline purchased it, and it became absence management, and it works super well for salaried employees. So but it just doesn't fit for hourly employees. So anywhere from custodians to administrative assistants or paraprofessionals. And so it really is going to clean up what our system looks like and digitizes things that in probably bigger districts like East Orange and others, it's already been digitized probably years ago. But because we're so small, it's we're still living in paper and pencil timesheets. Well, pen and paper timesheets, but
Very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with ASOP, and it was purchased by Frontline now, I understand. So
that's
this
right. Yeah.
all right, great. Paulette, Dawn.
I just wanted to add, you know, you say partner, but we consider tech family because of Robert. Robert, I'm gonna make you blush a little while, but
Yep,
Robert is the reason why tech has this this contract with us. And without going into the long story about it, he came in and he saved the relationship because we were ready to toss it away. And since we've been a part of the family, you know, we've been a Tech East Orange family. A lot of what we do, particularly in our STEM after school programs and in classes is general. You know, TEQ has always been there to provide us professional development. And all through the pandemic, I relied on tech to get PD for the teachers at East Orange. And one of the things we've learned is because before, when tech would come in, we were confined by the size of my training room. Our training room is about maybe 30 or 40 people. And then now, since we are remote, we could take in more people and get more learning done. And so I'm thankful for the partnership we've had. East Orange doesn't do a lot of partners with a lot of companies. And so, you know, and when we do partners with companies, we don't keep them this long. I think as long as I've been a supervisor, we've had this relationship with TEQ, which has been great. And it's been because of Robin, and a lot of the ideas we have or we come up with and implement in district is because of meetings we've had with him and sharing ideas. So, you know, hydroponics is going to be a big thing. Thank you, Robert, that we're going to do in one of these summer sites. We're going to do in 2 of them. We're going to do hydroponics for elementary students so that they could, you know, be exposed to it. We're going to do the autonomous car, you know, from the iBlocks curriculum. So a lot of work that we've done. TEQ being a educational service provider for us has worked out for the best.
And I just wanted to add that last week, Dawn and I hosted the 2021 Virtual Technology Conference, and the purpose was what we wanted. The goal was to have our teachers present workshops to one another, right? For us, by us type of thing. And we're like, how can we do this without tech? So we call them up, and 3 of them, but they're not like they're our outside provider, because our teachers know their trainers. And what I like about tech is that it's so personal. Like, we have had the same trainers for the last couple of years. So our teachers know them by first name. Hey, is Robert coming today? Is Terry coming today? That type of thing. And that's important. And Dawn did say it. She said that we don't have a lot of partners. I mean, we have a lot of vendors that come in. We don't call them partners. You know, they come in and they might provide us with a service or a product, but very many stay around. So we thank you, Tech. And we're not just saying this because Chrissy's recording it and we're on this panel. Robert knows we tell him this all the time.
We do. And I knew he was going to blush, but it's the truth. And, you know, I live by the truth will set you free. Amen. I am a preacher. So, you know, we tell the truth, and it's because of the partnership. I've learned so much. You know, it's always important as districts that we find the correct partners that meet our needs and not people who just want money. And, you know, as this partnership, we've grown as professionals and as educators, and we've been able to give our teachers and our students great experiences because of this partnerships. Thank you, Robert. I'm gonna say that always.
Yeah, well, I have to, you know, I'll pay you guys later. And this was definitely not.
No, you won't.
This is definitely not the intent.
No, you won't. No, you won't. Play it for his bosses. Don't.
I know.
I'm going to.
Yep.
But honestly, Christy will tell you, this was not the, you know, the real intent was not to even talk about even, you know, a tech or anything, but it was really, and Christy will share that we were discussing, Christy and I had the responsibility to be able to write title blogs and how to spend your title funding. And we shared that with school districts nationally, and it was very well received. So we said, you know what, we are educators, but we come from a different perspective now on the other side, but it would be great to hear from educators who are currently practicing and who are currently doing these things in their schools to say how you're using your funding. And so that was the impetus behind this. And Chrissy actually spearheaded it and, you know, got in touch with many of you guys and said, you know, we need you because we know you do wonderful work, not just with tech as a partner, but you do wonderful work in your districts and with your students and staff. And so we wanted to have your perspective and to be able to share that with others who, again, are dealing with a similar dynamic, similar challenges. And we all know moving forward, it's going to be a new reality for learning in our classrooms and schools. So we thank you for sharing. And, you know, I do want to open this up a little bit. We have a few minutes left. I don't know if anyone—
There was one question, if we could provide additional information on the 4-H cooperative. And if anybody wants to
Okay.
unmute and ask any additional questions, please feel free.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the young lady from Hamilton mentioned that, and she's gone.
I have her information, so I can certainly pass the question along. Yeah.
Right. And we'll look into that as well on
We
our
appreciate
end.
it.
If you
Mhm.
want to follow up, who asked that question? I think it was Angela.
Mhm.
Angela, you currently using 4-H cooperative, the curriculum in your school or district?
No.
Okay.
I have students outside in my office doing esports and they're kind of loud.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to put my email in the chat, but I will make sure if you want to just send that quick note to me, I'll make sure that we follow up with you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, we really appreciate your guys' time. I know I learned quite a bit, and
Right.
Robert and I took part in breakout sessions this morning, and Dawn, you said something to this effect. We were talking about planning and the plan, the planning versus the plan.
Yes,
And I think that's kind of what we're all doing now. The plan is no longer the plan. It is going to be constantly ongoing and changing, and planning is going to be more important. And with your help today and with what you guys shared, I think it's certainly going to be valuable moving forward for anyone who listens. So I greatly appreciate your participation.
Very
Thank you.
welcome. Yeah,
Thank you for having
my
us.
pleasure.
And
Thank
thank
you
you
for
Queen,
everyone
for
who participated.
sharing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And it is a pleasure getting to know all of you and
Yes.
seeing what you're going to be
Likewise.
doing moving forward. You know, the classroom of tomorrow.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Absolutely.
And that's a great, Steve, I have to say, a really great, topic. Something that we may want to flesh out and share with others, because we're continually, as Chrissy said, planning and looking and innovating. And as Dawn and Paulette have shared, we're doing innovative things in the summertime, because we really never captured our summer programs. We did half-day programs. I know as a superintendent and assistant superintendent, summer school was between 8 and 12. And then after that, see you later, and we'll see you, tomorrow for 6 weeks. But, extending that opportunity, offering an academic component, combining that with an enrichment, project-based learning. I know you brought that up as well. Those things coming together create a rich environment for students. It helps them to even acclimate back to learning in a positive and productive and fun way, which is going to be great. So they can enter school in the fall, ready to hit the road and running, and they're so resilient, they'll be back to normal and doing what they always did in no time. But thanks to excellent educators like yourself and administrators.
And I would love to have another, conversation like this again. I think it always helps to hear from other people and share ideas and, class of the future. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Oh yeah, you got it. As you all are talking too, my mind is racing, thinking about like, oh yeah, we do it like this, but try that, try this. So it's helpful to hear from folks in different areas and different kinds of districts, and we're all hauling the rope in the same direction. So.
Well, we're happy to host something again. If this is what, if what you guys want, and we can even, maybe the theme is the classroom of the future, and we can share additional ideas.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely, maybe even at the end of the summer, a follow-up on all your wonderful programs that you're implementing, and we'll just see how they went. Because again, if this is, where we're going, we may see 12-month schooling moving forward. So this is great, and we'll take these ideas back, and I'm sure that Chrissy will be ready to support another panel and get you guys on board again. So we do thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anybody else have any other questions at our attendees, or any other final thoughts? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Truly appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.